Hey, my friends, how's it going? Um, so, what have I been up to recently? I did a webinar. It was my first one as a coach. It was about feeling fully alive, so feeling more alive. And I shared, I guess, my story, and and it was very uncomfortable. And so I learned so much. And the first thing I learned is that by taking uncomfortable action, you grow so much. Of course, it was not perfect, far from it. And actually, there were so many lessons on how to improve on doing a webinar, improving on my message, and so on. Yet, by doing a webinar and having to talk about my story and my message in front of people online and live, yeah, it really stretched me, and it made me move forward. And I think that's the best way to move forward, is to have these kind of objectives and actions that are very uncomfortable, that because you need to stretch yourself, you grow, and it's totally propulses you forward in your life. So that was the first thing I learned. But also, by doing the webinar, I remember the story that I shared at the webinar, and I want to share with you here. Um, when was it? That was in 2018, I think. I was traveling in the Amazon, in a place called Alter do Chão, so in Brazil, and with a friend. And we went to a beach. So it's a place that has a lot of like nice, beautiful beaches, and the river is beautiful. And many people go there and spend time on the beach. And so we went on the beach with my friend, and I saw like kind of a hill, like a bit far away in the forest. And I told my friend, hey, I'm going to have a walk, and I'm going to that hill, and I come back. So I don't know, maybe it was 1 hour or something, like return, And so I went on. I was in my swimming costume, in my swimming suit, sorry, and I started to walk on the beach. And soon I was by myself, and I was walking and walking and enjoying the nature. And I saw I saw a man, actually old man, on the beach, and he had he looked like a total hippie. Uh, he was actually, he looked also kind of homeless. And when I got near to him, he was like, big smile, hey, how are you? Sit down with me. And I was like, wow, very smiling and everything. So I sat with the man. And the first thing he did was to offer me a fruit. He had like 2 fruits. He had nothing. And so he shared the little he had with me. And then he started to tell me his story. Like, I don't remember exactly if I asked him to tell me his story or if he just started out of the blue. I think he started out of the blue, and he was like laughing and he was ecstatic, and I was like, oh, that's curious. And he was starting to tell me his story, and his story was unbelievable. And I was in doubt, I'm sorry for that. We always like judgmental, or not always, but we can be judgmental, and we can be and I guess it's part of protecting ourselves. Like, is he crazy, or is he telling me the truth? And because it was just unbelievable. So I'm going to tell you his story. You will understand maybe why I was doubting him. So he was that like homeless guy on the beach, with no clothes on, and just laughing all the time, which was beautiful. And so he told me that he used to be a very rich person in Colombia. He used to be a cattle rancher in Colombia, a very powerful one. He used to be friend with the Colombian president, and he was very close to paramilitary groups, like these very violent groups that used to like kill people and stuff. And he told me he was involved in killings, so he actually got people killed. And he told me he was into drugs, and he was really a bad man. Like, he was just living a life of prostitutes and drugs and killings and making a lot of money and doing like illegal things. And he was telling me that with a smile and a laugh and being ecstatic, which was, weird, to say the least. But at the same time, there was something special. There was a very special energy. And he told me that at some point he got sick, and he went to see the doctors, and all the doctors he saw told him he was going to die. And once he got convinced that he was going to die, because all the doctors said the same thing, that he couldn't be saved, he decided to travel, to leave, abandon everything, and to leave Colombia and just to travel. And he went to the Amazon forest, and he traveled for months in the Amazon forests, and until he met a shaman that gave him something to drink, and that saved his life. And he told me that in a way that he was like, crying but crying of happiness. And so he was crying of happiness and telling me that this shaman saved his life, and that he was so grateful, and he was crying of joy, like, this like spiritual joy, like beautiful joy, high joy. He was crying of joy for being alive. And wow, for me it was like, what an experience. And that was in 2018, and I was not doing coaching. I was not even doing personal development or anything at the time. I was enjoying my life. I was, I guess, just like a young guy, like still like into partying, and this was very deep, like, I guess, but something was telling me that was all true, and that I was believing him, and his message was super powerful and impacted me a lot. And we went to swim together. He told me, "Hey, I'm going to have a swim. Do you want to come to join me to swim?" And I went to swim with him, and then we went out of the river, and I think at some point I told him, "Look," and he told me he was going to keep traveling, and that, like he just wanted to travel and just to be happy, and he had zero objectives, zero, like, like grand mission or anything. He was just happy to be alive, and he was just going to keep traveling and keep, just being himself and grateful. I went back to my friends. Actually, never went to the hill. And when I went back to my friend, he was super worried. I spent 3 hours with the guy, and my friend was super worried. He talked to everyone on the beach. He was looking for me, and I told him the story. He was a bit angry because because he was scared. So he was angry because I made him scared and everything, and he was scared for me, which was nice. And when I told him the story, he was like, "Wow, that's something. That's very special." That happened for sure for a reason. And the message is that we need to appreciate what we have, and we need to appreciate to be alive. And we get stressed about so like minor things in life. We, like, oh, I want this to happen, it doesn't happen, and we feel pain because of that. And I don't know, we make $10 less than we wanted to, and like really things that are meaningless. And when the real beauty and the real secret is to just be grateful for life, grateful to be alive, and that's a gift. And it shows that you don't need anything. You can be homeless, you can be on a beach with nothing, and have a heart full of love, and being totally ecstatic. This was the happiest man I ever met in my life. So I guess this story is very powerful. And I think when we get into our heads and we get sad and we get, whenever there's pain and like, and things don't happen the way we wanted them to happen, I think we need to remind us of this man, which I forgot the name. Remind us of that Colombian guy that was so grateful to be alive. And no matter his past, I think forgiveness is so important. Because yes, he did bad things, but who didn't do bad things? Of course, killing people is very serious, but still, you can give people a second chance in life. I think that's important. I think our behaviors don't define who we are. It's not because you have done something that you are that person. Because if you say, okay, that person killed someone, so that person is a murderer, you're defining that person as a murderer. But is that person really a murderer? Is that the core of that person? No. The core of that person is so much more than being a murderer. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes we lose control. we are in a bad place and we do bad things, but that's not who we are. I think everyone has a positive intention, and I think it's so important to know how to forgive, and everyone can change. And that guy was just the most generous and ecstatic and happy person on earth after being maybe one of the worst person of earth. And so I think that's also a beautiful example. So I wanted to share with you that story that I shared in my webinar, and also, last but not least, doing the webinar reconnected me with what I really love. It's funny. So I had for a long time an idea of organizing some kind of special travel, special experiences, because I think secret of life is to do what we love. And what makes us feel alive, right? Like when you know what is making you feel alive, you should do more of it. And if you can make a career or like a living out of what you love, I think you spot on. Like this is one of the most powerful thing you could do is to make a living of what you love to do and what makes you feel alive. And so I love traveling, but I love traveling in a meaningful way. Like I love traveling when there's adventure. I love traveling with improvisation. I love meeting people like that were not. I didn't plan anything, so I love to travel when it's not planned and when things happen, and you have beautiful experiences that were not expected. I think that's the most like the greatest travel. Also, when you can somehow contribute in your travel, and and when you learn lessons. So, for example, when I was in Africa, in Benin, with my mom, and seeing that village. I forgot the ethnic, but it's basically a nomad kind of population, nomadic population, and super poor. And there was that village because they settled down in Benin, because now it's obviously with all the borders and everything, it's very hard for those nomadic populations to keep doing that. Pearl. Yeah, so they call Pearl. So it was a Pearl village, and so poor, but the children were so lovely. And I was like, I don't know, it just melted my heart, and I wanted to give back to them and to help them in a way. And I think that's also like powerful travels. Part of a powerful travel is when you learn a lesson, and you actually make a decision to do something about the world, to make things better, to help people. I think that's very powerful. And I love sports, I love adventure, and so my idea, and I love coaching, of course, and so my idea is to create an experience that makes you grow. So like an experience of transformation, using the tool of traveling, or using the beauty of traveling, together with coaching, together with doing those sports and adventures, and just encounters and improvisation. And so I want to be the coach that takes you on that travel, and makes you live that experience, right? So I really reconnected with that idea, and I'm going to increase on it. Of course, I'm going to put some pickleball. There will be other sports for sure, because I think there are many great sports and activities to do when traveling. But I think pickleball is a great way to meet people and to have fun. So I'm going to invite some of my pickleball friends to join me on that adventure. And anyone interested in growing and having a new perspective for their life, and that's looking for a transformation, that want to go back home with a new plan or new objectives, more energy, feeling more alive. I would love to do that adventure with you. So I wanted to share all that. So it was amazing to do that webinar. I think it was one of the best things I did this year. Imagine. And now I'm committed to take uncomfortable actions. So I'm going to take uncomfortable actions every week, things that will stretch me so I become more. There's a beautiful bird that just flew, so that's why I was looking, and I was like, actually, I'm not sure what kind of bird it was, but it was really beautiful, kind of a blue big bird. And so, there you go. Stretch yourself, become more, and miracles will happen. Cheers.